Police have once again shot a legal gun owner, this time in a raid over a missing weed eater, a raid that they also conducted on the wrong house. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This story was sent to me by a viewer and it's another case of law enforcement messing up and then trying to keep as much information under wraps as possible. Most of what we do have is from local news sources in London, Kentucky, with the police keeping their mouths shut. What's also interesting is that initial police reports made no mention of the victim, 63-year-old Doug Harless, being armed, but then later backtracked and said that not only was Mr. Harless armed, but that he'd pointed a gun at the police when they broke into his home. Which actually, yeah, would probably be most people's reaction to someone breaking into their house. And this is why. The raid happened a little before midnight on December 23rd, and the officers were armed with rifles. Cops showed up to execute a search warrant for a judge's missing weed eater and heater at midnight, which is weird in and of itself. The amount of weapons they brought in search of a weed eater and heater is also interesting. Police went to Harless's home at 511 Van Zant Road in Laurel County, Kentucky, but local news WKYT was able to get the dispatch call for shots fired, in which the address 489 Van Zant Road was repeated 5 times. The home they were looking for, 489, was on the corner 2 doors down from Doug Harless and has been empty for months. Neighbors caught the shooting on their security camera, which shows cops showing up at 11:50 p.m. But before I show you the footage and get into the rest of the details, this video is brought to you with the help of the Attorneys for Freedom and their Attorneys on Retainer program. Now, if you ever find yourself in a self-defense incident, you do not want to have to face it alone. The folks in the Attorneys on Retainer program are actual attorneys who have been defending gun owners since 1997, and not an insurance program, which means that they don't have the same restrictions as insurance companies, and a call to their hotline instantly puts you on the phone with a lawyer ready to give you legal advice on the spot. Their only requirements are that you reasonably acted in good faith and that the incident happened after purchasing coverage, which means that they'll even cover the questionable and bad shoot incidents in gun-free zones, using unlicensed guns, domestics, accidents, you name it. They cover everything from felonies to misdemeanors, even appeals and bail bonds, and even if you are charged with a crime. All of these are things that, as we've seen from some high-profile cases, might not be covered by concealed carry insurance, even if you've spent years paying into it. So to switch over from your existing self-defense coverage, head on over to my link down in the description and use code LibertyDoll to get $50 off your individual sign-up. Now here is that surveillance video.
This is London PD, 48 Van Zant Road, 489 Van Zant Road. Units on scene, can serve search warrant.
The video starts at 11:50 p.m. Monday. London police are heard banging on Harless's door and announcing themselves. They're heard again over the sound of barking dogs. As we speed things up to 11:51, officers are seen moving around Harless's porch as others move to different positions around his home. Then, what sounds like 5 gunshots. And then things get quiet. Several officers are seen exiting the home while others gather in the yard. It's 11:52. From Laurel County dispatch audio we've obtained, we know it's at around this time officers call for assistance.
Van Zant Road, stand by in the area, shots fired.
Where they go?
They were at 49 Van Zant Road, serving a search warrant.
But Kentucky State Police say Harless was shot at 511 Van Zant. This is 511 and 489 is down the road. We spoke off camera with the owner of the property. He tells us nobody has lived in 489 for months.
Shots fired. 489 Van Zant Road. They have EMS going for the perpetrator who's been hit.
Now the first thing that I noticed here is honestly how many officers they sent to look for a weed eater. Like, again, why this many guys and why at midnight? If the weed eater belonged to someone other than a judge, would it have been done differently? Is this typical for this police department, I wonder. The video does show them announcing themselves. They bang on the door several times and don't even fully make it through the door before we hear the 5 shots. But this being a 63-year-old maintenance man, we can reasonably assume that he might have been asleep at 11:50 at night. It might be that he didn't wake up until the banging, was disoriented, and just heard people busting into his house. In which case, I would have been reaching for my gun too. What's even stranger is that initially there were no reports of Harless being armed. It wasn't until 3 days later that police said that he, quote, produced a firearm and pointed it at officers. WKYT has a copy of the original press release about the incident, and it mentions nothing about Harless being a gun owner or having a gun. And despite the obvious address discrepancies on the dispatch call, police also haven't confirmed that they went to the wrong house. But at this point, it's pretty obvious. After the fact, a 49-year-old Hobart Buttery admitted in court to stealing the items and hiding them on Vanzant Road, presumably in the vacant house. Otherwise I don't know why you would hide it on someone's property when they live there. Then it came out that the judge who started this whole thing didn't even own the items either, but that they belonged to someone else who stored them at his house. Again, questions as to why this requires a midnight raid with this show of force haven't been answered. There are also new questions of whether or not London police even had jurisdiction in the area. That seems to be a little murky. News outlets have filed several open records requests to get a copy of the search warrant. The courts claim to not have the paperwork. Local news has also requested copies from the police with no response at this time. They've only been given the affidavits of the incident after the fact. Locals have arranged multiple protests looking for transparency and questioning the police's use of force in this case. And again, nothing. The only thing that we know is that the incident is currently being investigated by the state police. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is definitely a case that I will be watching closer to see what happens. I don't have a lot of confidence in the police investigating themselves because normally that doesn't work out very well for the victims. But if it's getting this much attention locally and local protests and marches, maybe I will keep an eye on it and bring you any updates if we ever get any. I'm not really holding my breath, but we'll see. In the meantime, you guys know the drill for all of the algorithm things. Please like, share, and subscribe if you are new here. Ring that notification bell and drop a comment down below for the algorithm. And as always, guys, thanks for tuning in. Please stay safe out there and happy shooting.